aspiring players.
Matthew ran that hoop clean from an angle as well, so it
did,
might be a not too testy hoop one.
But this is always a horrible position, isn't it, where you've put the ball through and it's sort of midway between the reception ball and the pioneer. So, and the ball, of course, that he wants to really hit is the red ball, because that really allows him to get going with his break. But the closest ball is the blue.
Yeah, you can work with the yellow to come behind the red ball to get it back up to 2. He's prioritising the head of the row.
Make sure he gets the...
Nicely done.
Yep, nicely done.
And controlled again with the pace, wasn't it? So
yep.
May not need to do too much extra.
Referee walking down with some set squares. Very slight angle here, but we saw Matt come through the hoop quite nicely. It did take quite a lot of wire, though, actually, didn't it? I remember he hit it very hard, and it only got halfway. It took a lot of energy was lost in the hoop. So we'll see what happens with. Oh, and it's very similar to in terms of the way that the hoop has gripped the ball. It's Matt hit his really hard, and it did go through, and Reg has smoothed his a bit more, and it hasn't gone through. So
there are brand new hoop holes for the hoops for this match,
and they pack them very tightly with the sphagnum moss, don't they?
When I was setting the hoops before the event started, there was some hoops, you just about put your shoulder out getting them in, and some went in easy. So it just depends on where the land is. So.
The soil around the whole of the arena is the same, though, isn't it, Pete? It's a clayey sort of.
I don't know how much clay's in it, but it's all the lawns are different. There's different sets of 3 or 4 lawns, and they're all a slight different type of surface. I think that was because they were originally laid, in a few stages rather than all at once.
Oh, okay.
And
right.
they've never, which is quite good having that little bit of character around the things. So they're not all 12 are identical. But they are undulating. No matter what work they're doing, and they put a lot of topsoil on and level them all out, the same undulations tend to show back up, in 6 months' time.
So Matt with a fairly similar shot to what he had a few minutes ago. And this time missing by a bit more to the left.
That one, A bit of clay in the soil would probably be quite good. It would keep the hoops just that little bit firmer, a bit longer in the holes each day.
So I'll be disappointed with that one. He's come a lot closer to the other shots. A couple of 25-yarders that Matt hasn't managed to tickle. Yeah, unfortunately we do have quite a noisy hard drive quite near to us, which is difficult to block out. So it does sound as if someone's got the old Hoover out and is giving the commentary booth the once over, but hopefully our dulcet tones are still permeating through that. So Reg will be going across to the red and the yellow. Update the score. Find ourselves in the unusual situation that we got a sort of 3-1 score for both players in this game. So bit of a roll over here, Pete, to Gideon trying to work his magic to get rid of the hoovering, and by deft twiddling of the various knobs on this Star Trek looking like console, I think he's managing to do that, which is great.
There's some requests to see if Chris could come up and add some insights or do some commentary. I could trot down there and see if he's
trot down there and
available
see if he's
today.
available. Yeah,
I'll do that now.
yeah, we have managed to reduce the volume of the hoovering. I think the particular control panel that they have there is able to take out certain frequencies. So it's a further bit of twiddling, we might be able to reduce it down to the minimum that can be. So Reg engineering himself a rush up north towards hoop 3. He has a pioneer at hoop 4 that he rolled over from around corner 1 earlier, and I am fortunately going to be joined in the commentary booth by Chris Clark. Good morning, Chris.
Morning, Gareth.
Great to see you. Thank you very much for coming up and sharing some commentary time with us.
Yeah, we just had Reg had quite an interesting position there. He's opted just to nudge yellow out of the way and get a sort of slight cut rush on red to 3. There's another shot available where yellow plays into red and sort of knocks red out of the way, going behind red, and you can get an absolutely straight rush if you play that. I don't think it was necessary there because Reggie's very good at just taking 20-30 degree rushes wherever he wants, and another perfect takeoff there. We've already seen Matthew play what was a very, very good 4th turn, hit the middle of the target, played a really good croquet stroke, rushed up to corner 2, played a good takeoff, rushed down to 1, made 1, and it really looked like it was like the perfect start to a world final. And then really out of nowhere, that approach to hoop 3.
It was inexplicable, really, wasn't it? Yeah. And he was very, very cross with himself. He hasn't shown much emotion in his other games, but he was really berating himself for that error.
Yeah, you're really looking for just sort of no error, basic game 1. And he's had 2 shots since then and missed both of them.
Yeah, two 25-yarders. And very, very similar shots.
But perhaps equally as interesting is what Reg has done. A comparatively weak start to the final for him, where he's failed to go around from a sort of half chance after a very good scatter from Matthew.
It was a great scatter, wasn't it?
But still, you know, there's a ball in corner 1. Reggie's going to be expecting to go around from that. And he's given the bonus shot away. And perhaps the most interesting part is what happened in the turn where he eventually stuck in hoop 2, where he's approached hoop 1 to not a difficult position, but a failable position. And then he's run it by much further than he would ever run that type of hoop in the UK.
Right.
He's run it by, it must be about, 12, 13, 14 yards?
Yes, yes.
And ended up equidistant between the 2 balls.
And then having to take the pioneer at hoop 2.
Yeah, and the reason for that is all of these players have in the back of their mind the fact that they know that they can fail any of these hoops.
Yes, yes.
If you're playing on easier hoops, you're just that much more confident. He might have run it by 6 yards, but that's not a problem. So he's given it a little bit more. He hasn't had the confidence to turn around and hit the ball at hoop 1. Dribbled off partner at hoop 2. And then instead of hitting it firmly through to the boundary and getting that rush back to peg high on the west boundary for his break, he stroked his hoop 2 shot. And he just stroked it straight into the wire. So really that sort of error is what's been happening over these last 8-9 days with all the players, and it's due to this combination of a little bit of faster areas around some of the hoops, but mainly the hoops.
Yeah.
They know that every time they've got a break, they can break down every time in front of the hoop.
Exactly, and we saw that yesterday with Matt. He was absolutely cruising around, and inexplicably, just from a foot in front of hoop 6, just failed. It was completely out of the blue. It was totally unexpected for him. He must be used, once he's in his cadence, he'd just be used to making those very smoothly. So fortunately for him, he got away with it, with Robbie failing to make, uncharacteristically, make a 7-yard shot. But it was quite a shock to us.
Yeah, I remember the last competitive singles match I played, which was against Robert Fulford in the 2014 MAC, and I failed hoop 6 from literally 2 inches at 20, 25 degrees. And yeah, if you don't hit the absolute middle of the hole, the hoop's just a little bit more unforgiving. So
I believe they were fresh hoop holes yesterday, with and well packed with the sphagnum moss.
And I think they're fresh for this final. They said they were going to put fresh hoop holes for the semi-finals and then fresh hoop holes again for the final. And you can see all of the hoops are a little bit proud.
They are proud. The carrots are poking out of the top as if they're ripe for harvesting. And and I always find that slightly disconcerting, Chris. I mean, I know that it isn't going to affect the ball because the diameter of the ball is such that it's not going to come into play, but it still looks a little intimidating.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you've got to get used to from a visual perspective. In many ways, you know, we used to playing with white painted hoops traditionally, and you've got to get used to the stainless steel. And then the carrots coming up, and the fact the carrots are square, they're parsnips instead of the round ones. Right. It's all a little bit different. And again, I don't know how much you've mentioned the balls during the commentary.
Yes, the new balls. There's been a lot of discussion about the new balls on the live chat that accompanies the streaming. People are very interested in the new balls. They're interested in how they're behaving, how they might affect the ratios, how they might affect even the way the ball might squirt out from the face of the mallet on an approach shot.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'm finding difficult with them is, particularly in the morning when we've been having these chilly 15-degree mornings, and the balls have been sounding very hard.
Right.
So for people who've played with different types of balls, a bit like a sunshiny, if you play in America, that sort of hard crack when one ball hits another.
Yep.
Or for people who've been playing 30 years, the Walker ball in the UK would be a similar thing. And both of those types of ball, when they had that hard crack, you got a very good rush.
Yeah.
It was a very good contact and it pinged away. These are giving the hard crack and are then a bobbly contact, and the ball on the rush isn't going anywhere near as far as you would anticipate. So you're getting a sound to feed back to your brain to say, oh, I'm getting a really good rush.
But in fact, it's a bit limpid.
Exactly.
So where's the energy going then? If you, or is it because the feedback that you're getting is that the crack sounds good, that you, and then
I think you'll see the back ball come off the ground a bit. And that's where some of the energy is going in that upward lift. Now, I don't know whether it's the fact that the lawns aren't perfect. They're not like American lawns where they're lush and smooth. They've got lines that you can see from the scarifying.
Yes, I mean, Pete thinks that doesn't affect them very much, but I mean, certainly it played on my mind when I was on here.
But they're fundamentally, these have been good lawns. I've been delighted with them. If we'd have had rain-free 10 days, they would be really quite quick now.
Yes.
And even the areas around the hoops, you can see the difference between the sort of light green in the majority of the lawn and then the brown areas around some of the hoops.
Yeah, particularly around the hoops and particularly around the centre hoops 5 and 6 channel. So Reg, while we've been chatting, Reg has quietly been getting this break well under control, and now has all the balls where he would want them at this stage.
And it's tidy play. This is, if you're trying to improve, this is what you do. You just go out and put a 4-ball break down.
He's really settling down.
And count how many hoops you have to run from more than 4 inches.
Yeah. Well, the last couple have been from 6 inches, and it's he's got this well under control.
Yeah, I mean that's literally from 2 or 3 inches. That one.
Yeah.
So again, looking at what you're trying to do, playing a 4-ball break, you want your partner at 2-back, and people say, well, why is that important? You never want to make the last hoop of your turn off your partner ball. And Reggie's going to go to 4-back here.
Yeah.
So if you put your partner at 2-back, well, the first step is, well, it can't be your 3-back partner, so you're guaranteed to be making 3-back off an opponent ball. So that's what you'll find. Most of these top players are putting partner at 2-back, either after hoop 6, like Reggie's doing here, or after hoop 5, an early 2-back partner. Either option perfectly valid.
So we saw, Chris, yesterday Reg exclusively use the diagonal spread against Ed. I don't think he did an NSL or anything variant from that. And he's shaping up for that now.
Yeah, Reg is very, you might say, one-dimensional. He'll either lay for a sextuple, or he'll go to 4-back and make a diagonal spread. Yeah. I think one of the comments I made in the written commentary yesterday was on Matthew's turn against Robert Fletcher, where Robert's broken down on 2 and 4-back. You've really got to be looking at popping there. So that's peeling the hoop 2 ball through hoop 2 to hoop 3, and then putting the 4-back ball in the jaws of hoop 2. So you've got to leave where even if Robert hits, it's very difficult for him, to make hoop 3, never mind even do a triple peel. So that's really what I'm going to be looking for here.
We had Simon Jenkins in the commentary booth a little just before the game, and he was telling us that Matt had some special things planned, some interesting tactics planned.
Good.
So we hope he can get back on soon, so we can see what those are.
Yeah, again, this has been a 4-ball break from a very early stage.
Yeah.
If you're looking at some of the, what you might call the thinkers in the game, you're looking at Robert Fulford. Robert Fulford is immediately going to spot his opponent is on hoop 1 and hoop 3. Yellow's on 3 and red's on 1, isn't that?
Yeah, it is.
And he's going to then try and peel the red ball from hoop 1 to hoop 3.
Yeah.
And if you can get your opponent to 3 and 3, well, first of all, it allows you to lay up on the western side of the lawn with, you know, everything over on the western side and maybe a defensive ball near corner 4. So even if the opponent hits the lift, they've got virtually nothing. Secondly, if they hit, they haven't got a standard TPO if they want to TPO you. And thirdly, if they just go to 4 back, then they haven't got a standard triple later on in the game.
Yes.
And it's those things that made Fulford 5 times world champion. Reggie's got fantastic physical ability. But to me, this is a turn where yellow should have been peeled. Red should have been peeled from hoop 1 to hoop 3.
Yeah. So Matt ends up at 3 and 3.
Yeah. But Reggie is just consistent.
I guess the first few hoops were him settling down, particularly after that blob in hoop 2. And he's, as you say, he's managed to run all the hoops since then from just a few inches in front. I guess he's run out of opportunities now to do any popping.
Yeah, you'd normally play the first 3 hoops or so just to settle, and then you'd throw the red ball down in front of hoop 1 so you can peel it before hoop 5. So you've got a few hoops to settle. You can get 20 shots under your belt.
Yeah. Well, certainly one of the things I enjoyed about the new book that's come out is the chapter on popping by Samir Patel, which was quite an eye-opener for a player of my standard, because I haven't really thought of it as a tactic before, but Samir explained very clearly how it can be used even if you're not at this extremely high level to gain some polarity and some change in the symmetry.
Absolutely, yeah.
So and you know, it can be done with some, not ease, but certainly it's not too complicated, the ball movements, and he explained very well how that all happened. So I found that quite an enlightening part of that new publication.
And for those who are watching closely there, you got to see the line that black and yellow were aimed down, and you also saw, as soon as he hit it, how much pull the yellow got.
Yes.
And it's more pull than we're used to.
Yeah. So it's pulling almost a whole hoop over a yard.
That's a very good, that's a pretty good description of what we've had. So that has caused a lot of players difficulty with their peeling turns. Reg has countered that by trying to do a lot of dead straight peels. And to me, he's the best player in the world at peeling dead straight. His delivery of the mallet into the striker's ball is very slow and very flat, and that creates a very good constant strike. So he's actually going to get the balls going where he's aimed them. I think yesterday we had Edward Wilson trying to peg out from 9 yards away.
Yeah, that's right.
And Samir had a great picture of it being lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
But actually, on the impact, the mallet was askewed.
Yeah.
Reg doesn't do that.
Right.
Reg is fantastic at just hitting in a straight line, low, flat, slow, smooth.
Yeah.
And he gets that consistent result because of that. And that feeds through. We're not just talking about peg outs, we're talking about the peeling turns. And Reggie's going to go down in history as one of the best peelers of all time. Probably over 300 sextuples already.
So, Chris, how does Reg craft his break from this point here? Both the yellow and the red ball are hanging around 3-back.
Yeah, so he's going to throw the blue ball about 3 yards to the right-hand side of the peg. That's the east. And he's going to go past the red, rush the red back down past the yellow again, and then croquet the red just to the right-hand side of the peg, just to the east of the peg, somewhere between blue and the peg, going to yellow. Make the 3-back hoop, hopefully with a rush towards the peg, so he can rush it halfway there. And then he'll be croqueting yellow up towards the hoop 2 area, tidying up the red ball at the peg, and then hopefully with his last croquet stroke on red, maybe nudge it another half an inch or just take off and shake it, and then rush blue back to the east boundary, that's the right-hand boundary, and leave a nice rush to both red and yellow, making sure not to leave any double targets.
And Reg was very effective at getting everything maximum distance for Ed to shoot at yesterday.
Yeah. So one of the advantages of being as good a peeler as Reg is he doesn't particularly care whether he's given a standard triple or a delayed triple. So if he can make both shots 19, 20 yards, he's quite comfortable.
Yes.
All he wants to do is get his opponent to miss.
Yeah. And the biggest chance of them missing is to give them the longest shot.
Yeah. Now, as well as being a strength, that's also a slight weakness.
Okay.
And when you're one of these elite players, the fact that you can't really make a leave which gives your opponent a 22-yarder and a 17-yarder, which is what most people would do, they'd say, right, well, you can have a 22-yard long lift or a 17-yard short lift, but you're giving me a standard triple if you take the short
miss the other one,
if you're really, really good, that isn't a threat because they don't care about giving you a standard triple anymore.
Yeah.
So you actually have to give them the equidistant shot.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're a little bit weaker, you can get your opponent to take something 3, 4, 5 yards longer.
That's right. They have to make a different decision. I suppose the major decision that you would make in that case where both the lift shots are the same length is your feeling about the quality of the lawn in between you and the ball that you're trying to hit, and the boundaries here are perhaps more treacherous than the in-lawn shot.
Very much so. And one of the weaknesses of Reggie's game is that he makes diagonal spreads. If you're making a new standard leave or a warm standard leave, you can leave your opponent a 19-yarder. If you're making a diagonal spread, they've always got the shot at the ball at the peg.
Yeah.
And we should probably comment here that Reggie's got a little bit out of control. So Red wasn't quite as near the peg as he wanted.
No.
He didn't get a rush out of 3-back.
No.
And I think this yellow might have hilled fractionally.
Yeah, the yellow's certainly not as far over to the west as one would often have on a spread. But funnily enough, Reg did that against Ed yesterday. Both times. Well, actually more than 2 times. He put Ed's ball about 6 yards east of the western boundary.
So he's not going to be able to get a tight red here, I don't think.
No, he'd be risking leaving it open if he got too greedy with this.
And as soon as it's more than 3/4 of a ball away from the peg, you've left a full ball target, and it's 16.5 yards from the end of A bulk or B bulk to the peg. So having said he's going to leave a 19-yard maximum shot, actually he's going to leave a 16.5 yarder.
Yeah.
And that's the shot people should be taking against him. It's the shortest shot. And it's a weakness of making diagonal spreads every time, that he's leaving this shot. And it's certainly something that, providing that's a good area of the lawn to shoot down, is definitely very attractive to take.
A nice cut there over to the eastern boundary. So it'll be interesting to see how Matt responds, having been sitting down for the last 25 minutes while Reg executes his break.
And Matt's decision as to whether he lifts the red or the yellow is going to be dependent on his own tactics. Doesn't really matter from Reggie's point of view whether red or yellow are lifted. He's going to have a very similar type of position. I'd lift the yellow and shoot at the ball at the peg. But because of where red is, it's a little bit further south than normal, and Reggie's going to have to lay up further south than he has been doing. Might even be as low as hoop 5. So we'll have a look. He doesn't want to leave red a shot open on black and blue. He wants that peg to be in the way of red's backswing. And normally he'd be laying up, you know, probably a yard further south from where he is now. And I can't quite get the angles on the court here. Let's just have a look. Where is he? So he's already a couple of yards south of the peg. So that's pretty much where he would normally be laying up. And he's having to move it a few yards further south to avoid red having this open 13-yarder at him. He hasn't moved that very far. That's still north of hoop 5, so I think he's happy enough with that. Whether red's got any sort of swing, I don't know.
I got one question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
I noticed it yesterday of Reg. His western ball was more of a floater between the line of hoop 1 and 2 and the western boundary, rather than he doesn't. I know he might not have the room there. I didn't see how he set it, but he doesn't seem to push that very far west towards the boundary like a lot of players. More like a defensive, mechanism in the diagonal spread. And so has he always had that deliberately as a bit of a floater?
No, not always. I think he's often had it longer. I just feel once he's decided to make a very horizontal spread, so this 19-yard equidistant shot, he doesn't actually mind it being more in lawn. Whereas when you have a standard diagonal spread and you're laying up more diagonally, if you push it in lawn a lot, it starts to become quite a short shot from B-bulk.
And one of them was quite north and east yesterday, where it was quite a short shot that Edward didn't take it.
But it's only just north of the peg now, so it's still quite long from B-bulk.
I was meaning more that if the player does hit from B-bulk quite cleanly, then they've got to manipulate a rush if the ball is further west.
Yeah, he certainly makes it easier for his opponent, and. Again, I think that it's just there are very slight weaknesses in Reggie's game. Fulford would be having fairly tight balls over there, so just in case. Matthew's a very good shot. He's often been rushing this blue down to fourth corner.
Yeah, and then that yellow could, cost him the opportunity of the break.
In this case, less important because yellow's on hoop 3.
Correct, yes.
So one of the things I was sort of starting to say was that Matthew's decision is depending on his sort of whole match tactics. If Matthews decided he's going to hit the lift and TPO, which is always very interesting against Reg. I like TPOing Reg. He doesn't like being TPO'd. He's really good at croquet strokes and big shots. So it's not a perfect tactic. But I quite fancied the TPO there. This choice of lifting yellow is basically saying to Reg, no, I wasn't going to TPO you anyway.
Right.
So that's giving him Reg information as well.
Simon Jenkins did say to expect something different from Matthew today against Reg, something he hasn't been doing all week. So, that could have been the TPO you're talking about, but not on this occasion.
Shot.
It's a good shot.
So he's been a really good shot this tournament.
And that certainly wasn't a short shot.
That was long. That was
the
really long.
Distance of a short shot.
And I think Gareth mentioned that the key to this is you need to spend your 10 minutes practicing, working out what lift shot you're going to take. What is the flattest shot available on the lawn? That's all that matters when you're playing Reg, is hitting the lift. It's not what you give away when you miss, because you're probably going to lose whatever you do. So you have to find a flat shot. And he's obviously fancied that.
Right.
Hit it in the middle.
And the A-balk shots are generally always flatter here than any B-balk shots. They're all tailing away to the eastern boundary every time.
Black's the 4-back ball, blue's the hoop 1 ball for Reg. And he hasn't got a perfect hoop 4 pioneer, so he probably shouldn't be thinking about popping here. Probably this is just going to be the most basic ball to 4-back. As Gareth said, settle. Give yourself the chance of having some lawn time.
I didn't see popping from Matthew yesterday, and it looked like an opportunity where he probably could have or should have popped
from
Robert,
2 to 3.
Yeah, and it was kind of sitting there and it wasn't taken. So.
And I was hoping that might have been one of the things that he was looking at. Popping Reg from 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 isn't a big deal.
Yep.
He's just going to finish a delayed TP anyway. So really, in this case, I'd be focused on a ball to 4-back and A, maximising Reg's shot, but B, saying, if you play the blue ball...
I've got a standard triple on my plate.
Correct. So this is where you can't just go to 4-back, because then there's no polarity. Doesn't matter whether Reg lifts blue or black.
Yep.
You can take a long lift into 4th corner and you've got a delayed TP. So we're going to be looking for a new standard leave or a warm standard leave, and we're going to be looking for the black ball to be on, just off hoop 4, wide from A-bog. Step 1 is...
should be standard stuff for Matthew.
Should be standard stuff.
He's worked all that out.
Yeah. So really,
break.
just tidy your break up to start with. Get running your hoops from all short range. Again, I don't know how much you've talked from a technique point of about Matthew, but
we've covered a bit of it, but
very interesting to watch the swap.
As I was saying yesterday, it is certainly different, and there's a bit of movement on all the stance when he's setting up and all that. But actually, when the shot happens, his legs are pretty rock solid. There's very little movement in them.
Yeah, it has quite a wide stance.
Very wide stance.
So
and slightly offset feet as well. They're not dead square.
Yeah, no, it should be good for playing in the wind. It's this swap between
the
standard
grip,
and Irish, which I find quite fascinating. And certainly, if you remember in this game, he ran hoop 1, 4th turn, and he started lining it up Irish, and then he restalked it Solomon, and he hit it Solomon in the end. And there's clearly a sort of halfway house distance of whether it's 4 or 5 or 6 yards, I don't know what it is, where he swaps from one to the other.
I did, when we were talking about it yesterday, I said that is always the trickiness when players do alternate between grips, is there's always a halfway point. There's some shot that you're just, what grip am I using on this one? And he seems to be coping quite well with. And I can't remember the reasons he gave you, Gareth, why he did start doing the Irish thing. I think it was for the control. Oh, it was in the interview. Yeah.
Check out the interview.
Yeah, no, we asked him that question about the Irish grip. He said he was getting a lot better touch around the hoops with it. It was from playing his first couple of golf croquet events, and the lag shot with the Irish grip, he said he was able to land them on the money more than with a Solomon grip. So
I think he's spot on.
Yeah.
I think if you look over the history of the game, you've got some very, very good touch players who play Irish, and some very good shots who play Solomon.
So he's getting the best of both worlds, and that's how you see.
One of the things I really like about Matthew is the tempo of his play. It's brisk, very much like Edward, but perhaps fractionally slower than Edward. And I like rhythm players.
And he does have the pause when something is critical. And
Absolutely.
And it's it doesn't seem to have to remind himself to pause. It's just he stops well and works it out.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see this pace of play in a world final. And something which I think we need to work on as a sport.
Yes, it's certainly a lot more attractive if you are, not a first-time viewer, but if you are watching the video streaming and you're seeing Matthew trot around the court like this with the nice pace and brisk pace as Chris was describing, it's good for the future of the sport.
Absolutely. And that one back pioneer, if you saw it go, it's perfect. It's right in front of the hoop, but it kept going.
Yeah,
And this is the first day today we've really had temperatures moving up towards the high 20s for about 5 days. And really in a couple of hours we could start seeing these brown areas around the hoop actually get genuinely testing. They're okay at the moment, it's overnight dew and all that, but yeah, by the time we get to midday, I think we could find approaching from 3 and 4 yards away start to just become a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that moisture will dry out with a bit of heat, but you get a bit of heat and a bit of wind, and they'll change pace very quickly. And that slipperiness, as Chris describing around the hoops, you can see the bare areas, but it's when you're really out there in the court around the hoops, you realise how quickly that ball travels.
And for people thinking the bare areas haven't got any grass on, that's absolute rubbish. They've just gone dormant. If they're watered after the event, they'll be lush green again and absolutely fine. So you can do a lot to lawns without risking killing them. I think one of the good things that actually happened at Cairnlea was they held a reasonably big golf croquet tournament here a couple of weeks ago. And I try and do that at United. I actually go to our club members and say, come on, please, come on, play lots and lots and lots, and wear out those areas around the hoops. Because I want them to be shiny.
Much the same attitude I have. I'd look at it as a bit of a positive sometimes, that rather than they're damaging our courts and get them off it. It's not a bad thing.
So Matthew making this.
And he's got the polarity of those balls correctly, like as you described, Chris.
Yeah, warm standard leave. Again, going into a little bit more detail than perhaps is necessary, that the blue ball here needs to be wired from B-bulk, but you also want to have it not wired from corner 4, so that if black were to take the lift, the long lift at red and yellow, and miss down to corner 4, and then Matthew rushes straight to hoop 1 with red and yellow, and then fails hoop 1 or breaks down at hoop 1, blue doesn't have a lift. Blue can still hit the black in corner 4. And you can see blue is perfect there. It's just got that little half an inch away from the hoop to allow the mallet to hit both sides, or hit the middle of it.
Perhaps you could describe why the Morm standard leave has a benefit above just a new standard leave, Chris, with that ball tight on the leg.
Well, I mean, there are so many reasons. I mean, the first reason is you rush your partner to hoop 1. Now, to me, that's huge. I broke down at hoop 1 a lot, and, if you're rushing the opponent there, you're giving a breakaway. Sometimes, if I broke down at hoop 1, I just gave an extra shot away. That's a big difference. Secondly, because you're rushing partner to hoop 1, your partner goes straight to hoop 3, which is 4 back. So, from a tripling point of view, it makes a standard triple far more likely than a delayed triple. And
the biggie of number 3?
So, well, there's more than 3, but if they hit the lift with the defensive ball, so the ball at hoop 4 takes the lift, then they can't rush to multiple places. Normally you can take off and get a rush to either hoop 1 or the ball at hoop 2. Here, if you get a rush to the ball at hoop 2, you can't rush it to hoop 1 because the leg's in the way. So you've got to potentially take off from 10 yards away with only the chance of rushing to hoop 1. So that makes it a more defensive leave as well. And then, finally, because you've got both the balls directly behind the hoops, you're taking potential lift shots away from people as well. Now, that's not a very good shot. He's going to have to try and get this black behind the leg of hoop 4, and to do that, he's going to have to play a thick takeoff here. Matthew would normally play a thin takeoff, just focus on yellow in front. This is more difficult. Black needs to move across. It's good black. It's a good yellow. Now, unless he's really unlucky, he should run the hoop past black here. He shouldn't go into black. And again, those Atkins hoops just gripping it a bit. He can just hit red here, and there are certainly perfectly good opportunities to still get black in front. That looks like a good place. He can take off from the right-hand side of that, moving it a little bit close to the boundary, and get a rush on black back towards hoop 4. And then the only problem is the last shot of the turn might be a lag, so he might not get the perfect.
But a lag with his new Irish grip. So
Yes.
it's a bit easier.
There is a danger here of lagging back to red and leaving blue a double target. Remember, Reg wants to play the blue ball. It's nice length on that.
And you're putting this right at the leg, Chris? Or you trying to judge the
I'm going to try and judge the weight
weight,
on
yeah.
this one, Pete. They're perfectly good lawns for just poking it at dead weight.
Right, yep.
It's only got to move about 9 inches, hasn't it? And he's got a reasonable amount of leeway. But the last shot of the turn is going to be playing yellow from where it is now. That's open. That's open from A-Bulk, I think. Now he's going to have to go to the end of A-Bulk and look at, is he leaving any sort of ball and a half target, ball and 3/4. I think Reg can hit 3/4 of that at least from A-Bulk. It's not good at all. You have to join up still here, and you just have to cross your fingers that Reg misses.
Yeah, yes, it could be a ball and a half target from a ball. We're looking at that red height, or is it too high for that?
It could be.
Too far north.
I think Red's quite a long way
Yeah.
north. My worry is it is actually completely open from
open,
A-Bulk, and it's about a 9-yarder. So he's scattering here. I like this as a choice. Oh dear. I don't like that as a choice.
That was a deliberate jump.
It was a deliberate jump, absolutely. I thought there was a legitimate option there to scatter black and yellow off and actually just try and give the innings away. He's a good shot. If this is completely open, and it isn't, this is a good camera angle. I think this is from A-Bulk, isn't it, Pete? Yep. So he's only got, what do you think that is, about 75 to 80% of the target?
I'm guessing it's 4/5 of the ball at the very most, Chris.
So I would have joined up there and crossed my fingers that Reg missed, expecting to lose. But yeah, you can see it's probably going to be actually have red in the background, so you can't.
Some sort of target.
You can't. And I think Reggie's still going to take this. So jumping yellow into corner 4 isn't giving Matthew a huge amount of extra defence.
And the reasons why he would have thought I've got to be into corner 4 on this, besides Reg being able to hit the ball and take the innings.
It is just trying to make Reggie's finishing turn a bit more difficult. I'm anticipating blue hitting black. Now, if Matthew gets any other result than blue hitting black, he's made the right shot. Reg hasn't even looked at this. He's got a big target here from A-Bulk.
Yeah.
He should be hitting it.
There's no hint of Matthew possibly tempting Reg to take the 13-yarder with blue at the yellow ball.
No, I think yeah. If you think Reg is going to potentially take this shot, Matthew's absolutely nailed the tactical decision.
Yeah.
I didn't think,
and he
Reg
hasn't
would
even
be
hesitated. He's walked straight and looking in that angle.
And to me, this is an 8-yarder.
Yeah.
And he's turning down a 9-yarder with a ball in the background, maybe.
And the ball he wants to play with.
Yeah, I don't like the choice. Obviously, if blue misses black and red will play. That's the ball Matthew wants to play. So this is more defensive. If Reg misses this, Matthew will play yellow, won't he?
Gets another shot.
So that's what's going through Reggie's mind. I think he shot really well.
And you see Reg more than most, Chris. Is that his general mindset in a best of 5, that he's just not going to give a sniff by
Reg is a defensive player overall, and what's going to be going through his mind? It's early days. He doesn't have to force the issue. Matthew's already shown weakness by failing his break fourth turn.
Yep.
He's shown more weakness now by failing to get a leave.
Yep.
And Reggie's just going to go, I'm much better. I'm going to keep it defensive.
Play the odds in my favour by giving him not much and controlling the lawn at every opportunity.
Yeah, and